Good morning and welcome to Mortgage Pros 411, everyone. Good morning, Kevin, Casey, Megan.
Good morning, Audrey. Good morning, Megan.
Good
Or good afternoon, Megan.
Yes.
So good to see you.
It's good to see you guys. It's been a while, you know?
I know, it feels like
Too
forever.
long.
I know. Well, every moment away from you is like an eternity. So anyway, as people get loaded in and teed up, we will get this thing started. So as always, there seems to be a plethora of things going on in the mortgage industry. So what's top of mind for you today, Megan?
You know what's on my mind right now, just because we talked about it today, is builder sentiment. We got the NAHB yesterday and it dropped 11 points, and that excluding the April 2020 time period where COVID hit, that is the most dramatic decrease since the survey started 37 years ago. And that really goes to show and shed some light on how builders are feeling about the future and how unconfident that they're feeling. And to me and MBS Highway, it's another recessionary indicator.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so just to go through some of those numbers. So last year, a year ago, we were at 80 on the home builder sentiment, right? They expected 66 to be the new number this month. And what was it?
55.
Yeah.
Now, it is important to note, though, that above 50 still does signal expansion. So it's not like we're in this, you know, oh, we're headed for another housing crash. Everything's gone to, you know, down.
It's not, yeah, in my mind, it's not about housing crash. It's about where people's heads are, right?
Yeah.
And
that determines the future. It's all about, the more that I learn about this stuff, which really fascinates me, is it's all based on the psychology of the masses. Exactly. And that determines where we're going to go.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so important for us to be aware of what the real deal is, because what we're seeing from the media, and we've been pounding this drum for 2.5 years, what we see from the media every day is a bunch of ridiculous headlines and an exaggeration or a misinterpretation of what's really going on. And so that's why, for those of us who have our little ears to the ground, it helps when we're talking to our clients, when we're talking to realtors. And again, if you're looking for material to put out into the universe as far as the market goes, you got it, right? Correct the information that's being distributed to the masses, right?
You know, so it goes back to that those stats we were looking at, where people think, oh, we might be going to recession, therefore housing values will go down. And yet, when we saw the stats for all the recessions going back 40 years, there was only one recession where home values went down, and that was the 2008 recession,
which we caused.
I have a graph for that. I want to show you guys. Everyone here.
That should be like the lead into everything. Do you have a graph for that? And the answer is
make it like and share.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, good God. Okay, hang on. Please hold.
Please hold.
Okay, hang on. Oh, good Lord. I'm just wondering what else you're gonna get if I share. Hang on.
You just have to allow sharing.
No, you don't want to share. You just have to allow Megan.
Yeah.
Okay. Pardon me, people. While where is
Learn
that?
how to use Zoom.
Okay.
For her.
It is new and I'm getting better, but oh, good Lord.
The pressure is on.
No, I don't know where to look. Kevin, if you're so smart, tell me where it is.
I think if you hit share screen,
there's like a little arrow, like right above the share screen, like to the corner, and then you can allow all participants or all panelists to share.
I'm just going to share it and you can see whatever else is on there. How about that? Did that work?
No, that's not going to
that's your screen.
All right.
Yeah, it's not going to matter.
Okay. All righty then.
But, you know, basically, we'll give you some time, but basically looking historically, when we look at all the past recessions, home prices, and this is according to Case-Shiller, which is like the gold standard of home appreciation, home prices during every single past recession, going back to the 60s, when we look at this, home prices have either maintained during recessions or they've gone up, and all of them have gone up exponentially afterwards. But as you guys have mentioned, the reason that people have this belief of, no, I shouldn't purchase during a recession, the economy is, it's going down, I shouldn't purchase a home right now, it's because they're thinking about the housing bubble that we had. And people get this wrong because it was the housing bubble that led us into the recession, not vice versa. And, it was a completely different scenario back then. We had way too many homes on the market, not enough demand. And right now, it's the complete opposite. We have no homes on the market, yet we have demand. Given demand has slowed a little bit, but there's reasons for that. There's a 42-year high inflation that people are dealing with. How are they going to make the largest transaction purchase of their life when they can barely cover bills and put gas in their car? But in order to have a housing bubble like we had last time, you have to have something to sell. And it's just not the case in today's market.
It isn't. Okay, so I just changed there. Oh God.
There we go.
Yes.
So here you guys can see, here we are. These dark blue bars represent the past recessions. This white line is home prices according to Case-Shiller, and you'll see they basically stayed stagnant. They went up a little bit, stagnant, up. Majority of them went up afterwards again, but this is what people like to think about. And this is why they have that fear of purchasing right now. And so it's so important for us to get in and show them that, look, historically, that's not the case. And listen, where we were at right here is not where we're at right now.
Right. Exactly. And I think even if we go back even further, it is, that is the case. Like that, I saw some stat like back to the beginning of recessions period, which was like 1795 or some crazy thing like that. And yeah, so housing stays strong. So we, it's something we talk about regularly. And just to keep in mind, someone asked a question whether this was recorded, and the answer is yes. So you could go back and watch to your heart's delight while I try to, during this, figure out Zoom and sharing a screen, which we did. It's like a miracle. Anyway, okay, so housing stays strong through recessions. Check. Now let's look at your MBS did their own survey, or has started doing their own survey. Are you doing this monthly now?
We are going to do this monthly, yes, and I'm really excited about it because here's the thing, with a lot of the housing data that we get, it's dated, right? It's either for a month or two prior, or, it's just dated. So it doesn't give us this real time look. Now, MBS Highway, we have over 35,000 subscribers, majority of which are originators. And so we sent out a survey to all of these individuals. And this survey, the answers, we had over 3,000 people answer this. And it gives us a look at, what's happening in today's market. And so on a national level, what we wanted to look at was buyer activity and pricing pressures. So as far as buyer activity, 66% on a national basis saw this active to very active. So that's a good sign. The housing market is still strong. It's still active. Now, as far as pricing pressures, moderate to significant, 33%. And then we looked at the pace of sales. Now, on a national level, we'll see that, it is slowing down a little bit in the media, and you guys currently, I'm sure, are experiencing a little bit of, price reductions. But it's important to note that this isn't, a negative. Homes were priced way above as like what they would appraise for.
Right.
They're way above that due to the fact that there's tight inventory. We saw the craziness in the market. So it's actually really a healthy thing to kind of see this coming back down to that normal near asking price range. And then we did it, divided up between regions. So where you're located. And it's, people are still seeing homes fly off the market at a rapid pace. But things are starting to slow down a little bit, but overall, from what we saw from this survey, is that we're still in a healthy range. Homes are still flying off the shelf. And, if prices are moderating, they're just coming back to, potentially reality instead of this elevated level, which over and above all is good, because on a national level, appreciation that we saw, last year was around 18 to 20%. Well, you guys, the thing about that, while that was great, and if you own a home, congratulations, pat yourself on the back, we're all loving life. But at the end of the day, that's not sustainable. And so to see, home appreciation come down is actually a really positive thing for the market.
Well, and the other thing too is this idea that, you price something at 995,000 and think you're going to get 1.4 or 5 and you're offended when you don't get, multiple offers at that price is ridiculous. So for me, I'm super excited. I keep listening, I keep polling these realtors and I'm just curious, I do my own informal little what's going on. And I'm hearing some weird stories, mostly, by the way, there are offers. So maybe you don't have 20, but you might have 3 or 4 and they're pretty solid, right? But then you've got the one-off. So one of my realtors was telling me yesterday that he got a call from someone, this realtor who thinks he's, really something. And I mean, that's his reputation. That's how he acts. So he says, hey, we're going to put an offer in on your place and it's coming in. And so my realtor, because he works with me, he's like, so do you have is it approved? Do you have the letter? Do you have source of funds? Right. And the guy goes, no, but it's coming. And, it's a Wild West out there right now. So, you're just lucky to get an offer. And so anyway, so then my realtor calls the LO on the other end and they're not even approved. They are short. Their DTI is too high. They don't have the amount of funds, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, again, you have to educate the realtors. And, it sounded like this LO did a good job in terms of saying, just being pretty straight with them. Because then what happens? Okay, you get an offer, you're the realtor and the seller, you get an offer, you take it off the market because you've accepted it. And you're, believing this guy because the realtor's comment was, well, I'm solid, so they're solid. Okay, as it turns out, not the case. So maybe you are terrible too. Anyway, bottom line was really make sure you're vetting the offers, make sure you're having good conversations with realtors. This is your time to shine. Communicate, communicate, communicate.
Actually, that's a really good phone call to make out to your realtors and say, hey, when you get an offer, here's the questions to ask the LO that's on the other side of the sale. Because I've had it where realtors will question me and I'm like, oh, these are great questions. Boy, I normally don't get these great questions. And it's really, I'm kind of happy to answer them because I have done my homework and I have the work behind the scene. And yes, there is a difference between a pre-approval and a pre-approval. Was it humanly pre-approved or did they just run a DU or did the LO just, oh yeah, they're pre-approved.
And not only that, but your real estate agents should be more receptive to this feedback and this communication right now because, inventory is tight and they're fighting each other right now. So any way that you can help your real estate agent stand out and increase their level of confidence so that they can increase their level of conversion. Listen, this is a prime opportunity, this market right now, for you to really build and solidify those referral relationships because at the end of the day, they need you. I have a couple friends that are real estate agents and they're struggling right now. One of them went out and got another job at this point in time because it's tough.
It's tough. No, they're challenged and their biggest fear right now is they'll accept an offer and then it'll fall through. And because they are falling through right now.
So I literally wrote the note for this week. Communication is key. And, it just speaks to our whole conversation right now. And this gives we have time, right? We have time right now. So Kevin and I were talking about this yesterday, getting on a schedule, getting back to what we could have been doing, should have been doing the whole time, which is old school. Okay, on Monday, I make these phone calls. On Tuesday, I do these phone calls. Okay, none of us have time on Tuesday. We're too busy with this, right? All our listeners, this is all we do on Tuesday. But Wednesday, we make these phone calls, right? So it is, get yourself on a schedule. Let's create some more structure. And man, I used to cringe at that word. Did you, Kevin? As an LO?
I used to hate it. I used to, what are you, someone's going to tell me, but the best example is who has structure. McDonald's has structure and they make millions and millions of dollars.
That's a terrible
the
example.
local hamburger joint doesn't have structure and they serve, so few hundred people.
Can we talk about this though for a second? Now that you guys do have more time, there's things that you should be doing. One, if you believe, like we believe at MBS Highway, that there is going to be a recession in the future, well, what happens to mortgage rates when you do go into a recession? they decline. We can
Yes.
tell that by history. And so if you know that a recession is on the horizon, what can you do now so that when that happens, all the purchase transactions that you've been doing, you make sure that you're grabbing that business, that you get that business as soon as rates come down? Do you have a process set up to handle that?
Right.
And if you don't, how can you? Well, one way that you could do this is, use social media. All those purchase transactions that you're doing today, create an Excel sheet. And honestly, you shouldn't just do this now. You should do this, going forward into the future, but create an Excel sheet where you just have the client's name and you post the hyperlink to their social media channels. Once a week, once a month, whatever it is that you can be consistent at, go through and like and engage with their content so that when rates do come back down and you create that video talking about it, they think of you and they want to reach out to you about refinancing. That's one way you could do it. Another way you could do it, you could create different email campaigns or something like that, where, they're going to get started on this email campaign as soon as rates come back down or whatever the case may be. But we need to think about it now, because what happens far too often is people wait until the last second and then they think, oh, crap, I should have done this back in the day. And now they're scrambling to get that business.
Mhm.
But while you have time, let's make sure that we get all our systems and all our processes set up to attract that business so we have it when it comes.
Absolutely.
It's coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is literally just the time we have to get through. We have to hang in there. So first of all, I am understanding that the chat is not working, but the Q&A is. So if you have any comments, etc., direct them to the Q&A, because I do not feel adept at challenging myself with figuring the chat out in the middle of all this right now. So we'll deal with that later. But if you have something you'd like to say, stick it in the Q&A. Some people are texting me, and one of them is one of our favorites, Harry. He said, I live for Tuesdays, not just for you, but because it's Taco Tuesday. So thank you, Harry, for keeping our feet on the ground and making sure that we understand that, maybe we are right there with tacos, but we are not necessarily above them. So with all that being said, I think, again, what I'm going to do is we are in the middle. We're getting towards the end of our little group that we have put together, and we have tackled the certified mortgage advisor course with MBS Highway that we had all had sitting in a box. Like literally, I have multiple pictures of people's cats in their MBS Highway CMA box, because that's what it had been doing. So now we're on module D at this point, trying to master that before we dive into module E, which is all the Fibonacci, all the stochastic crossovers, all of that, which we've heard for millions of years and never really understood what the hell it meant. Yeah. So that's coming next. When we are done with that, I'm going to put together a group for our listeners where we put together a plan and support each other through getting some of these systems in place. I think it'd be valuable for a number of us. And if you would like it to be part of that, just let me know and I'll keep track of that. Okay. Oh, Kevin just put a test in the chat and it worked. What the heck?
Well, he's a panelist, so
all right.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
Doesn't count.
Okay. Are you just trying to show us that it is
I just want to see what's working. It looks
okay,
like it's working from my side.
So we have a few comments. So Kelly said, love you guys. These weekly meetings are so helpful for me, and we love that. Thank you so much. Somebody else said not seeing anything. I don't know what that means exactly. And then Jill said, since the chat is not open, absolutely right. Get your network and sphere together now and get your CMA designation. So but I think that's a really good point, is take this time, take yourself to the next level.
And I want to talk for a second about what CMA is for those that may not know, and they're like,
Great.
What is this thing that Audrey is doing?
Yes.
So CMA is a certification course, Certified Mortgage Advisor. And it essentially is Barry Habib's brain, broken down into a course. So you're going to learn everything. You're going to learn how to generate wealth for yourself, how to generate wealth for your clients. You're going to learn how to have these hard conversations with your clients. You're going to learn recessionary indicators. You're going to learn the ins and out of how the Fed functions. You are going to learn how to break down the different economic and housing reports that we break down in the morning update on MBS Highway. And which is great because after that knowledge, you'll be like, oh, this is what I think they're going to say on the update. And you'll start to understand that and know that. And then as Audrey mentioned, the module that they're getting in now is all about learning candlestick patterns and moving averages and stochastic crossovers. And that's really amazing because once you learn that, it is almost like a new language opens up to you. Not only is it going to help you when you go to look at the charts for the day and you're like, oh man, these are pretty negative. I think we could head down. Maybe I should, lock my clients. And you'll start to feel more confident and comfortable with being able to have those conversations and, take initiative to call those clients and make that happen before it is, an automatic, we have to do this right now kind of thing. But it's also going to help you with your own wealth generation. When you go to invest, you can look at, different stocks, different outcomes, and you can say, this is a good one to invest in. After I got done with CMA and really learning the candlestick patterns, I started dabbling in a little bit of day trading. And I know that the stocks are crazy right now, but this creates a beautiful opportunity as far as day trading is concerned. And so it has been really fun to put my level of knowledge to the test and, see what happens. Now, all my other long-term investments are a little bit depressing right now, but that's a different story.
I was the opposite. Is back in March, I saw the writing on the wall and started getting all my stocks out, bonds out, Bitcoin out. And it was like so perfectly timed. And it's like, how did other people not see this? This was the perfect time to sell all your stuff.
Well, not everyone is as smart as you, Kevin.
No, but it's because of just what Megan's saying. You get to watch the market. The market goes both ways. You can watch it just for the bond market, but you can also watch stocks. It's the same stats, the same trends. You know when it levels off. When hey, wait, this isn't performing like it was. Suddenly it's not. And now it's time to, where is it going to go? Is it going to go down or is it going to go up? And you get to watch the stats. It's pretty amazing.
What's cool about it? You get to see through the candles, psychology, people's psychology come to life.
Yep.
If they don't feel good about it, you see it, but it's in data, it's in the candlestick forms. And it is just, it's mind blowing to me. I find it so fascinating. I remember when I got into the mortgage industry, I was like, all this stuff is so dry and boring, and I'm not excited about it. But then when I started to dive into a little bit more, I was like, whoa, this is everything that I absolutely love. And it's about that shift in perspective, but you have to be able to take on that forever learner stance and get curious about things to even begin to get there.
That's such a great point. I am definitely a forever learner, and I have been likened to Curious George. You remember the little monkey who, so I've been called that on multiple occasions because I always have a million questions, but I'm always I'm always interested in what is next. So we have a couple more comments. Jill said, I'm so proud about being able to clearly explain that the Fed rate is not the driver of mortgage rates, but inflation does, and why and how now that I'm working through the CMA course. That's a big deal, because right now the big news is, the Feds, they're doing their thing. You got Jerome Powell, who's like, don't buy a house right now. So anyway, it's so annoying. I just want to put a gag on him.
When I heard him say that, I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
I know, it was shocking.
This is like a great time to buy a house. Not when rates were super cheap. No, you want to buy them when rates are high, because once the rates slow down, the rates go down, your value goes up, and you can refinance and lower your payment. You can't lower your payment when you got that 2.75% interest rate. You'll never get a lower rate than that.
I just had this conversation yesterday with an investor client of mine who I've been working with him for decades. And he said he's getting ready to buy. And he goes, I always buy when nobody else wants to. Mm-hmm. That's the ticket.
That's the ticket.
100% the ticket. Okay. We got another comment in here from our friend Harry. Kevin said, Kevin's buying dinner.
What's Harry got to say?
He said, Kevin's buying dinner and drinks since you are so smart about your investments. He goes, shouldn't brag about how smart he is all the time, because then you're paying, buddy. So there it is. But again, if we're doing good, that's good. If you figured out how to take this information and turn it into something for yourself and your clients, that's what it's all about, right?
Yep.
So, okay, so Kelly says I actually did an Instagram post contradicting him right after you said that. She means Jerome Powell. And so that is exactly what we need to be doing. I'd like to say I'm doing it all the time for myself personally, but I'm not. So I swear to God, at some point I am. And so, Megan, when we started working with you 2.5 years ago, it was all about social media, right? It was all about videos. You would do entire segments on how to use social media, etc., to enhance our business, right? So 2.5 years later, you have grown exponentially, and now you are just this market guru. And but I'm sure you have little pearls of social media ideas for us in the moment too, right? So why don't you share a couple of those? I mean, not to put you on the spot or anything, but
no, I could talk about social media for days.
all right, great.
Social media, you guys are slower right now. So you do need to allocate a lot of time to social media. The more reach that we can get when we do get that turn in the market, remember, that's going to be you getting that business at the end of the day, because all social media is at the end of the day is essentially a free CRM system. And so it's allowing you to have multiple touch points. And, they say it takes an average of 8 to 10 touch points before you actually convert a client. So if we can get these touch points, listen, that's what we want. Now, when it comes to utilizing social media, the first thing that you want to think about is, okay, what is my target audience? And the target audience is those individuals that you're trying to convert into a client. Now, in my mind, there's 3 different types of target audience in this mortgage space. The first one is, what is the market giving me? So we just kind of talked about that. We're headed for a recession, which means rates are going to go down. So it's really going to give us a wonderful opportunity in the future to refinance. So that would be a target audience that we would want to focus on. The next target audience is, your area of expertise. So maybe, you're the person in the office that everyone comes to about reverse mortgages or whatever the case may be. You need to hone in on that because that's your area of expertise. Then the third type of target audience, which to me is the most important, and that is, what are the types of clients that at the end of the day, no matter how many fires you have to put out, no matter how many times you have to pick up the phone call late at night when you're having dinner with your family or whatever the case may be, who are the clients at the end of the day that are giving you more energy than taking from you? And this is very personal, Maybe you really love to help first-time home buyers. It really makes you feel good about yourself. It gives you purpose, and the way that you feel is the way you outwardly show, the world, that it builds that level of attraction. It attracts more people to you. So the more things that we can do to bring us joy and fulfillment, that's what we want to do, because that's going to avoid us from reaching burnout. So I want you to think right now, what are your 3 types of target audiences? And remember, it's what is your area of expertise? What is the market giving us right now? And who are those clients that give us more energy than take from us? And once you get that defined, now you're ready to start creating some content. And people overthink creating content so much. Listen, we all get in our own heads. It's not like we popped out of mom and we're like, get me on a camera, I'm ready to go. No, this takes practice. I mean, Audrey's just learning how to share the screen.
I don't know if I can do it again, but yeah.
But it takes practice, and it also takes us being courageous. It's so easy for us to talk ourselves out of creating content. Like, it's so easy to do. But at the end of the day, you have to remember, why did you get into this business? What is your purpose? What is it that you want to leave at the end of the day? And, we might not be a company that's spending millions and millions of dollars on ad space. And so that's why it's so important for us to claim our market share and utilize social media to do that, because this is coming from a millennial, but at the end of the day, purchasing a home is one of the largest financial decisions of most people's lives. And listen, yes, we are in the day and age of, we want it fast and we want it right now, because that's the kind of world that we're in. But also at the end of the day, we want to feel comfortable and confident about one of the largest financial decisions that we're about to make. And again, coming from a millennial, this is a big decision. I don't want to just click through on a screen and, oh, all of a sudden I have a house. We need to articulate and we need to create content that makes people realize that a mortgage just isn't a mortgage. A mortgage is a vehicle to use debt. Listen, it's a vehicle to use debt to help fund the rest of our lives, to create a safe space for us when, things pop up. When all of a sudden we don't have money to send our kids to college, or we don't have money for the car that we desperately need. We need to teach people, because they don't know what they don't know, but we need to teach them that a mortgage isn't just this paperwork that you go through to get a house. It is there to help you through the rest of your life, no matter what's going on. And so when we can create content that can articulate that message, well, now those click happy people that, get me in the house, this is just paperwork, they're going to understand that that is not the case.
Right.
And they're going to want to work with someone that is knowledgeable. They're going to want to work with someone that they trust, that is going to listen to, these very vulnerable times where we might not feel the best about ourselves, but I need help. And you can be that shining light. And that is such an amazing thing, because you know what that does? By you taking on that role, it sheds light into the world. It sheds, I can be this saving grace for you when you're going through this challenging time. And let's talk about content a little bit. Once you hone in on your target audience, you'll know their age group, right? So let's say that, your target audience is first-time home buyers. Well, first-time home buyers, a lot of them are spending time on, TikTok, on Instagram. So that's where we're going to want to spend a lot of our time creating content. And if you really want to be seen, especially on, Instagram, for example, which is my favorite platform, you're going to want to be creating reels. Reels are going to be a really big deal. One, video is king. I've been talking about it for years. It's going to continue to be king. And the reason that it's so important and it rides above all other types of content is the simple fact that it's short, it's engaging, and it also shows your face. So it portrays you as the trusted advisor. And when you're creating video, especially reels in this example, one, you're going to want to pick a trending song on Instagram. When you can add a trending song, even if you're talking over it and you make that song really quiet, it's going to get that piece of content out to more people. So make sure that, you're adding a trending song to it versus just you talking. Now, also, it's really important in the setup. We have a very limited amount of time, 30, 60 seconds at max, and you're going to want to keep it on the shorter end. Like right now, what is trending on Instagram is like the 15 to 30 second reels. So you're going to want to keep it short and you're going to want to keep it engaging. So you want to think about that. You don't want to start the video with this, okay, guys, you see how I paused there? There was like 5-10 seconds of me before I said, okay, guys. You're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to start on the tip of your tongue saying that sentence. Now, another thing that I did there, you do not want to say, okay, guys. No, you do not want to address the audience as a whole. You want this person that's watching this video to think, whoa, this video was created for me. Like I'm feeling really engaged. And so you're going to want to first start off the video by drawing them in. Have you been thinking about purchasing a home, but you're afraid because the market's been talking about a recession? That's going to be an engaging way to draw them into that video. Do you want to know how to create wealth for your family? That's going to draw them into the video. So you want to first start off by what is going to draw that target audience to watch the rest of the video. Because we all have ADD when it goes on, social media. It's if I'm not attracted to you or engaged in what you're saying, I'm moving on to the next thing. That's the world that we're in.
3 seconds.
Yeah, you have 3 to 5 seconds to attract that target audience and let them know this video is for you. And then after you do that, that's when you're going to want to go into the juiciness of it. You're going to want to go into the solution that helps solve that fear or, whatever the case may be. And then at the end, what you want to do is you want to have a call to action. A lot of people leave this off, but what good is it if you're creating a video where you're creating all this wealth of knowledge, you're making them feel better about themselves, but you don't tell them what to do next? It either needs to be, schedule an appointment or comment below your experience or tag someone, whatever the case may be. It's not like this has to be a salesy call to action, but you need to have something so that they know what step to take next. And I think reels are a great way to go. It's the same kind of thing on TikTok. They're very similar in that regard. But if you can be consistent in creating content that is humorous, that is educational, whatever type of content it is, and explore the type of content that you want to create. Because what I see far too often is people, oh, I need to create what is really trending on social media right now, but they hate it. They feel very uncomfortable with it. Well, if you feel uncomfortable with it, how do you expect to be consistent? And social media is all about consistency, my friends. If you're not consistent, if you're that person that's like, ooh, I want to drop 25 pounds, I'm going to go to the gym every day and I'm going to cut my calories, you're going to do that for 2 weeks. And then you're going to be so sore. You're going to be so tired of eating your rice cakes and chicken and rice that you're going to go off and you're going to have something fun to drink or eat or whatever the case may be. You're not going to step foot in the gym for another month. We don't want that. We want this to be something that you can be consistent with. So make sure that it's a type of content that you enjoy making.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack in there. Let's start with, what if you don't enjoy it? Let's just go back to your gym comment and say that in the beginning of doing any of these new activities, it's going to be uncomfortable. So you're going to have to commit to that uncomfortableness for a certain amount of time so that you become adept enough that it becomes comfortable, right? So it's not going to feel great in the beginning. Just know that it is going to be very uncomfortable. I have talked many times about and I'm not exaggerating for once, 28 takes it took on the first video I ever did. It involved all 3 of my children. It involved Post-it notes being stuck on their foreheads because it was right about the height that I needed to be looking. We were all crying and on the floor by the time I was done because it was so funny. But it gets easier, people. I am a great testament to that. 2.5 years later, I'm like, fine, it's fine. Just point the camera. What do you want to know? I got you. So anyway, and I had written down, it's always interesting to me to see what I write down versus what comes up in conversation. Don't resist change, embrace it. Like right now, we need to be making changes. I have this, there was this whole conversation about these firms that are still coming that are trying to disrupt mortgage technology. And while I totally don't believe that they're going to replace humans, there is a lot to be said for the technology that's coming up. You have to be willing to take it, even in little pieces, and incorporate it into your business. Because if you don't, your clients are going to want that. They're going to look for it and they're going to leave you and go to someone else who has it, even if you do have the best advice. So again, we break it into little pieces. And I'm having flashbacks to the entire things you did on Reels. Remember, Megan? And I'm sure I know we have the recordings. We're trying to figure out, we had the recordings and they're stored somewhere and we're trying to get them onto a YouTube channel. It's something we're working on right now. And so we need to go back and look at your Reels. Do you think they've changed over this time? Like, do you think we need to update it, or do you think someone could watch the old video and figure out how to do a Reel?
I think they could still figure it out. And, I think a lot of it is the same. It was very kind of a basic kind of elementary video that we kind of did in that regard. But then again, there's so many things on Instagram and all social platforms that are changing consistently and changing very quickly. And so, I'm sure there's small tweaks. We could always redo one. I will say some exciting renewal content. We're working on renewal content right now for CMA. We are going to have Neil, and I can't remember his last name, but Arjun as well. These are 2 like big guys on social media. I mean, these guys are getting at points over millions of views on their videos. We are having the experts in this space do a CMA portion for that renewal content, which is going to be Amazing. So there's going to be a lot of really great content as far as CMA is concerned going forward. We're also going to have Reels templates for you guys going forward. I'm working on some video scripts. Another thing that I'm working on, which I would actually be curious to get some feedback from you and other people that have taken the CMA course, is we're coming up with a presentation expressway. Now, this is going to be basically a presentation for you to present to I'm thinking the target audience in this case be potential home buyers, on why to essentially work with you, why to pick, why work with a certified mortgage advisor. So what I was thinking, and I'm curious your guys' thoughts on, is kind of a, make your mortgage work for you, where we pull in some of the content that you learned from CMA, like, amortization, how to, increase your wealth through making an extra mortgage payment, or, whatever the case may be, pulling in different content from CMA to let people know that a mortgage just isn't a mortgage. This is a tool to help you with your financial security in both the short and long term. So I want to get your thoughts, and I also want to get any feedback from anyone on, is there any kind of presentation or video script as far as CMA is concerned that would be beneficial for you guys?
Okay, so we have a few things here, and okay, first of all, Kelly said she was laughing because she had 50 takes on her iPhone from her Instagram post. It doesn't, it's awesome. It's just, you did it. That's all that matters. That's what I focus on. Tom said he would love to have access to prior social media info on the Reels. Today was a master class, a total master class. So with that being said, when Megan, who's going to Europe tomorrow, gets back, we're gonna schedule something, okay, so that you can come on and you're gonna help us. Let's just do a whole new one. It'll be up to date, it'll be current, and then we can have people people's feedback, etc. So just look for that, guys. We'll get that up there.
I'll figure out how to share my phone live, and we'll go step by step and create a reel.
Remember we did that last year. We did the live thing. It was really awesome. Okay, so somebody said, Jill said, keep it super simple to avoid the glaze over. She's talking about, always. Just remember, we all do it. I sure as heck do.
Well, it's hard, once you get that knowledge, it's hard to remember what you thought when you didn't have that knowledge. And so, I think it's so important. You can use people around you for this too. If you think that you're, overcomplicating a video, or you're not sure about it, read it to someone that doesn't really know a lot in this space and ask them if it makes sense, or if it just leaves them with more questions. Listen, it's great if a video, if they understand it, but now they have questions about the process moving forward, that's fine, because that's more likely going to get them to take that action to schedule a meeting with you or call you or whatever the case may be. But we don't want it to be to the point where it's like, that was way over my head, I don't understand any of that, and that did not help solve my problem or question that I had. We definitely want to avoid doing that.
That's right. I think that's a brilliant idea, is just run it by somebody who is not in the business and who wouldn't have the knowledge that we have, and have them listen to it and watch it and see what they think. And if it makes it, I think that's brilliant.
Jill uses her sister, which is fantastic.
Fantastic. Oh, it's funny you would do that little accent. She's from New Jersey, actually. She doesn't sound like that, sadly, but she is from New York. Okay, New Jersey. I think New Jersey. Anyway, okay, couple things I just want to run through. First of all, inflation. Let's just talk about it, because we talk about it every week now. It's super titillation, and CPA was up again.
1.1%.
Yeah. So we were, some people were hoping it would moderate a little bit. Nope, got worse, way worse. So
it's not going to moderate.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about that.
Can I go over that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. So let me find the slide really quickly here.
Look at her sharing her screen like a pro.
Yeah, like she does this all the time.
Yeah, right. Because I was able to push a button and make it happen. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for that. All right, so first off, inflation. We look at two different reports for this. Our favorite report is CPI, Consumer Price Index. Now, the reason that this is our favorite report, it has more of a weight towards housing and out-of-pocket medical expenses. Now, the other report, which is the Fed's favorite measure of inflation, is PCE, Personal Consumption Expenditure. Now, both of these reports measure inflation over a 12-month rolling basis. So they take the 12 months, get the average, that gives us our inflation number. Now, the difference between CPI and PCE is PCE allows, one, it's not as weighed towards housing, which is important for us, obviously. But two, it allows for some substitutions. So let's say, you know, we were getting all of our oranges from Russia or something, and we decided to no longer get oranges from Russia. And so now what would happen to the price of oranges if that were to take place? Well, they would skyrocket. So in PCE, what they can do is they can allow for substitutions. Now, instead of measuring oranges, maybe they measure tangerines, whatever the case may be. That's kind of the difference between the two. Now, again, we like to look at CPI, and there's a lot of media experts out there, economic experts, that have been saying inflation is peaked, it should start to come back down. Well, no, remember, it's a 12-month rolling average. So as we get the next month, that last month drops off. So here we are. These are all the different CPI data points. Now, we just got June in, so this 0.9 dropped off and it got replaced with 1.1, which is now why CPI is in the 9% range. Now, a lot of people have been saying, okay, it's peaked. Well, you know, given, I hope so. I hope it has peaked, but I really don't think that that's the case, because what's going to happen when we get that number for July is July's going to drop off. So we're going to be replacing this 0.5, then we're going to be replacing 0.3, 0.4. Now, all of these are pretty low, right? So if we get the same kind of reading that we got for June, that 1.1%, well, we're going to be replacing these low numbers. So that's going to send that CPI number up. And, you know, we're kind of estimating that you could even see inflation hit the 10% range.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Fed has come in and tried to help fight inflation. One way that they do that is by raising the Fed funds rate. So they've already done that a few times. There's been a lot of talk since we got this hot CPI reading. You know, it kind of gave the Fed kind of the green light to go ahead and be a little bit more aggressive. And there was a lot of people talking about, oh, you know, is it going to be 75 basis points? Is it going to be 100 basis points? Well, we did have the Fed whisperer come out and say that it is going to be the 75 basis points. So their next meeting is July 27th. So be on guard for that. Make sure you definitely watch the MBS Highway morning update that day. But we are estimating that they are going to raise the Fed funds rate by 75 basis points. And again, at some point in time, that should help fight inflation. You know, when we come into this October reading, you know, maybe things will get a little bit better and we'll start to see inflation come down a little bit. But you know, from the 3 data points that we have going forward, I don't really see inflation, you know, really coming down all too much.
I don't either, and I'm seeing it. Like I was looking at some. I was back in London. I was reading some news there. But see, in England, most people have adjustable rate mortgages. The 30-year fix isn't common around the world. So when their Fed increases rates, their mortgage payments go up almost instantaneously. And so immediately the Fed can change the amount of money that's flowing around the markets, because if my mortgage payment suddenly went up by $500, well, I got to cut $500 from somewhere else. And that's really fast in the economy. In the United States, we're not seeing the effect directly. The Fed raised rates. Well, unless I have an equity line, which is directly attached to the Fed rates, or maybe my credit card rate, or maybe I need a new car loan, but I'm not changing my mortgage payment habits based on the fact that Fed increased the rates.
Okay, you know what? This actually answers, thank you, Kevin. It answers a question I had yesterday, because I was seeing that the the ECB was more hesitant than we are to raise rates. And that is why, holy crap, I hadn't even thought of that. Good. Thank you for saying that. Because why would they be hesitant? Why would they be so afraid of a recession, since we're not
It hits that bottom line really fast.
What?
It hits the bottom line really fast.
Oh my God, when you're bumping it. Okay, with that being said, it was another thing I wanted to mention this week is, we have a lot of people, I have people doing equity lines right now. Okay, they're getting 0.75% a bump on that money every, 6 weeks, right? At this point. And we need to really run the calculators to make sure it makes sense. If they're doing it just to have it there for a rainy day, that's one thing. But if they're going to use a substantial amount of money, even if they do have a 3% rate, do the math on whether it makes sense for them to do that equity line. Make sure that they understand they need an exit strategy. Make sure, again, be a professional, walk them through the other options, make sure you're running the numbers, because maybe they should do a cash out refinance instead.
Exactly.
Maybe. I mean, maybe
So
not.
I've run the numbers with people, and it's like, listen, I'm going to explain it. You have a beautiful boat on one side, but the other side, it's got a bunch of leaky holes in it. Your boat is going to sink no matter how nice the other side of the boat is, because your equity line is the part with the sinky holes, and the other part's got that 2.5% 30-year fixed. You want to get rid of the 2.5% 30-year fixed, put it into 5% loan, so you're not going to be paying 7% on one side and 2.5% on the other side, and you're better off.
It's really funny that you'd bring up a leaky boat. My dad, who's 84 years old, is up in the San Juan Islands right now on a trip, and some boat sunk in the harbor last night, and he called to tell me all about it. He's like, remember, we're at Bainbridge Island, da, da, da. I'm like, oh yeah, we used to go sailing up there all the time. So anyway, yeah, leaky boats, don't want them to sink. You have to be rescued, all your crap gets wet. So there you go. Okay, so we know that mortgage applications have been down year over year, 18%, just for fun. And when I just want to go back to this Fed leak thing that you were talking about for a moment. So there is, in the Fed whisper, right? So there is, I guess dating back to Greenspan, at least, there has been somebody, a news reporter somewhere, that the Fed would share the information with ahead of time so that it wasn't such a shock to the market. Now, dating back to Greenspan, I don't really remember not having shocks to the market. I just remember, like, all of a sudden they'd like lay something on us and all of the market would go to HE double toothpicks and you're like, holy crap. So anyway, so now we have the Fed whisper. So that's what Megan was talking about with that. And again, last month, like last Fed meeting, I was like, why don't they just rip the Band-Aid off and do 100 basis points? And somebody laughed at me, and then they started talking about 100 basis points now. And I'm like, see, it wasn't so crazy. All right, so there we are. Core logic, loan performance. Just wanted to talk about that and foreclosures again, just for a moment. So foreclosures were up 0.2%. Okay. So let's remember always that that is from when? A year ago, when we had a moratorium on foreclosures. Remember that? Yeah. So do not get dragged into that. Make sure you're looking at those numbers historically, probably dating back to 2019 at least, right?
Yeah.
To see
Loans are very healthy right now. We did see the 30-day tick up a little bit, 30 days or more, which will cycle into the 60. But loans are super healthy right now. I don't think it's something we need to worry about.
Well, so we have a question here. If the economy gets bad enough, won't some of the lenders freeze the lines of credit, referring to the HELOCs? And we all remember, or a lot of us remember, last time when that happened and they did freeze lines of credit, but that was because equity positions were shrinking so rapidly. So I think we have a ways to go probably before that would start happening. But, it is something to caution your clients on, as far as, listen, if you're taking this HELOC out because you need this money, get the money out of it, even if you're paying interest, just so that that doesn't happen if we start to see things kind of shift a little bit with regard to that, right?
Yes. And then Jill's comment on the MBS highway loan comparison tool. I would really recommend using the debt consolidation tool. I think this is a really powerful tool. This will allow you to kind of come in this example, a client purchased a $500,000 home back in January of 2018. They haven't refinanced yet. At the time, it was a $400,000 30-year conventional fix at a rate of 4%. Then we asked them the current debts and obligations. We put that in here. It'll show us where they land on the qualifying ratios. And then we put in what we're looking to refinance them to. Now, again, this tool is going to be really, really powerful once rates come back down, but this is powerful right now. We're seeing unpaid credit card debt increase exponentially. People are struggling right now. So they need some extra cash. They need some help. When I talk about you being this guiding light during time periods where they need it, this is an example where you need it. So even if we're refinancing them to something ugly, 30-year conventional fixed at 6%, it's going to take $4,000 in closing costs. I mean, it might not look at first glance that this is powerful, but people have built a lot of equity in their homes the past couple of years, and we can share with them, let's not get in more debt. Let's pay off that debt. What does that look like to you? Let's take some cash out. This is where we come in and we would put in that cash out that we were talking about. Maybe they need to, purchase a new car or something like that, or they're going to need $15,000. Well, let's go ahead. Let's add that in. Let's share with the client what this looks like and how we can ultimately pay off their mortgage sooner, get them more money, get them cash in hand, mitigate their fears of getting in more debt. In this case, we could use that equity to pay off their debt, which they're freaking out about right now. We could get them the $15,000 cash in hand to get that car that they need to get to their job. And not only that, but if we were to put that money that they're saving through debt consolidation back into their mortgage, well, now you can overcome that. Well, we've been making payments on that 30-year. I don't know how I feel about getting in another 30-year agreement. We'll take that money that they're saving through debt consolidation, reinvest that back into the mortgage. It's not going to be 30 years. We can share with them how that can help increase their net worth for those things that they're worried about, retirement, whatever the case may be. But let's also say in this scenario, they say, listen, inflation's rough right now. We could use an extra $500 a month just for gas right now.
Mhm.
Okay, well, let's see what that looks like. So you're not going to put this whole $1,000 back into your mortgage. You're going to keep $500 for gas. That's going to put that $583 back into that. Well, now it's not 15 years, it's 19 years, but still less than you have right now. And, we're increasing your net worth. This is such a powerful tool right now to really share that with clients, especially, I'm telling you, the more that inflation gets worse, the more and more people are going to be struggling right now. They haven't completely adjusted to how to adjust their lifestyle for where we're at right now. And this can be a powerful tool to be that shining light during this time period.
Okay, so I just want to say that every time I see you demonstrate that thing, I think I am such a ding dong that I have not started using it myself. I know. All right, so that has got to go to the top of my to-do list. Holy crap. Anyway, I challenge all of us to try that little tool at least once in the next week, okay? If you've got it, let's use it. Let's see if it works. I'm sure it does because Megan said it does, and I believe everything. She wouldn't lie to her Auntie Audrey, would you?
No, never.
Never. Okay, so I saw this little blip. I thought this was interesting. CFPB clarifies so-called convenience fees are illegal. So the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which by the way, we will have them on our little show in a month, in a recent advisory opinion, affirmed that convenience fees charged by debt collectors for payments made through certain methods, such as online or by phone, are illegal. So the Bureau said collection of any fee is forbidden unless it is mentioned in the consumer's contract or affirmatively permitted by law. So I'm curious, like when you call to make your mortgage payment, they charge you $7.50 or
$15 my last one. They were ridiculous. Every time I did an online payment, it was $15. I'm like,
all right. So just a little heads up. I don't know all the details on that. I'm going to save that for our conversation with the CFPB, and he can dive into it a little bit. And
maybe get me some of those $15 backs.
That's what I want to know. Like, can we get money back? I'd like a refund, please. Anyway, okay, just quickly as we wind this up, I am watching so much negativity on the social media platforms. There are people who are daily taking pot shots at other people in the industry. It is, for me, it really makes me sick to my stomach. And I would just like to say, we really have not participated in that over the last 2.5 years of doing this, because it doesn't serve any of us. I'm seeing it in associations. I'm seeing it online. It's like the mean girls have taken over, right? So don't be part of that. Don't even just don't engage. Don't get dragged into it. Don't enjoy it. It's negative, and we don't need to be negative. We need to focus on what is good, which is we love our clients, we help them, we do everything we can to make ourselves better so we can make their situations better. Focus on that. Focus on making yourself a better person, not on making somebody else feel crappy online. That lives forever, and that's so awful. So with that, I just wanted to briefly blow through our upcoming speakers. So next week we have Dr. Elliot Eisenberg. He's our favorite little economist. He is entertaining, he is interactive, and very relevant. Always has really interesting conversations with him. On August 2nd, we have Bill Lohman, who we all love. Everyone, we get such positive feedback from him because he's entertaining. Although I always tell his assistant to make sure that they've tied him to the ground in his chair. He can't bop around all over the place. On August 9th, Rob Chrisman, he's lovely. Josh Pitts is on August 16th. Aaron D., who is the COO of Lone People, is August 23rd. Mark McArdle with the CFPB will be August 30th. Dave Stevens joining us September 6th. And then Barry Habib is joining us on September 13th. So there we are. We have a really great group of speakers joining us coming up. Megan, as soon as you get back from your trip, we're going to get you in here to discuss Reels. And with that, everyone, we have upcoming live NMLS classes that we're going to announce dates on sooner rather than later. There's one next week on Tuesday in Martinez, California. Still up in the air on who's teaching it. But anyway, if you're looking for live NMLS classes, they're starting to happen. So stand by on that.
Starting to book them. And Megan,
Yeah.
Museum d'Orsay. Book your ticket for 9 o'clock in the morning. You'll be there for at least 4 hours.
All
Just
right.
go. They have the
Oh.
most, even somebody who isn't like totally into art, like they have furniture, they have, and it's the most beautiful setting you've ever seen. Like you're hearing it from, like your auntie and Uncle Kevin. Go to d'Orsay, okay? All right, when you're in Paris.
Okay.
With that, people,
All right.
we love you. Thank you so much for being here today, and we will see you next week at 11 o'clock Pacific time. Mwah. Bye.
Wow.
Bye.